let's talk about why your degree doesn't matter anymore. The world is changing very fast with AI and technology overall disrupting our day-to-day lives. And I am not talking about going out shopping for groceries and walking your dog, but your career and your future development. We just do not know what will be happening in a year or two in any career path, let alone 10 or 20 years. We don't know what skills will be valuable for employers, for the governments and for the world overall to make money. Maybe those will be blue-collar workers and the AI will not be able to replace those for quite some time, or maybe those will be government employees because the governments are regulated so heavily that they will not allow AI to make any decision, or genius software engineers which AI will not be able to replace. But those all are just my fantasies that I thought about myself or read about somewhere. In reality, we do not know how the world is going to look like, and we also do not know whether AI is as disruptive as people talk nowadays about it, right? A few years ago, when ChatGPT started to become very popular, people started saying that AI is gonna take our jobs in 1, 2 or 3 years time. Since that time, several years have passed, and I do not see too many changes on the market. Of course, I have heard that some people, especially at more junior positions, have been either fired or maybe some massive layoffs have been happening in some companies, but all of these things are just minimal when we look at the whole picture, right? When we look at the whole world and when we look at how the things are actually going in day-to-day career of most individuals, because mostly people remain at their places, mostly people remain within their careers, and mostly people do the same things that they have been doing a few years ago. Of course, there are some exceptions, as I just said, but overall, for most of the people, nothing has changed. They still have their jobs, which makes me think that AI is not as disruptive as people are writing and saying that it is, right? What I think it will be in reality is just a very powerful tool that is going to make the job easier for most of us, for most of the individuals, but that's just not a good thing, because the employers will just anticipate you to do more. They will just anticipate each and every individual employee to perform better, to fulfill a way higher KPI in order for them to say they're fulfilling their job on a good level. So the AI is allowing every worker in the office to perform their work faster. If, let's say, a year ago without the AI it took them half an hour to draft a big email, now it should take them 5 to 10 minutes. And the same goes for everything. If you are typing something on the computer, whether it's code or text, AI is making it faster, right? It allows you to perform better in terms of your capacity, right? I'm not saying that the outcome of the employees of their work is becoming better. Most probably not, actually. But definitely most of the people are conducting their work faster. And one more thing which AI is doing is making every worker more agile. Most of the people working in the office are actually doing very meaningless jobs, right? What they are doing is just moving numbers from one spreadsheet to another, just on different levels. You could be an investment banker, you could be an accountant in a small LLC. Of course, the outcome of your work in terms of money will be very different, but in terms of work, you are just doing the same meaningless things. You are filling out forms in big or small Excel files, you are filling out Word files or something else, then you are answering to the emails, etc, etc. And so even though lots of the positions in different industries have very different names, such as accountant, investment banker, consultant, etc, etc, all of these people technically are doing the same job. They are typing something on the computer. Of course, lots of these jobs are paying very different salaries because they require different level of understanding of, let's say, finance. But overall, in terms of technicalities, all of these people are just typing something on a computer. And even though AI will not allow every accountant to become an investment banker, it definitely allows every accountant or data entry guy to do some other things which are useful for the company, such as building small automations of their day-to-day tasks, or doing some work of other teams, or doing some basic IT stuff which before required an involvement of a better paid IT employee. So now AI is allowing everyone to fulfill their job plus something else. And in lots of the cases, this of course makes the quality of the original work worse. But nobody cares. Nobody cares about that. Because now you can take one employee and make him do more stuff in his 8 hours which he's sitting in the office. And that is absolutely awesome for the capitalism, because it will generate more revenue, at least at the given moment. Because as I said, the quality of the work that these employees are performing most probably is not as good as it was when it was their original task and that was it, and they were performing it on their own without the AI. But that doesn't matter in most of the cases, because as I said, the work is meaningless. People are just moving numbers from one spreadsheet to another or doing something similar to that. And that is why the quality of their work in many cases doesn't matter that much. What matters is that the work is done and they can do something additional to their work by just completing more work, maybe of other people originally or of another departments during their work day. And that's how we're coming to the degrees nowadays, and why those do not matter in most of the cases in today's world. Because the jobs are becoming so agile and are changing from month to month in terms of what is expected from an employee, right? The degree is becoming just an education, not a guaranteed outcome, because you do not know what will be happening in the market in 4 years' time. Most probably, as I said, people will still have jobs, and there will not be a universal basic income, most probably, in my opinion. But who knows, maybe there will be, and we will all be happily playing World of Warcraft while being paid by the government for the things which will be done by the AI. But I'm a pessimist and I do not believe in such things, at least for now. So you still have to work, you still have to make money somehow, and you still have to think about your education. And at the same time, you cannot know what kind of a degree will be useful in 4 years' time, especially if you do not have a dream of becoming something very specific, such as surgeon or cardiologist or some sort of a specific lawyer or prosecutor, etc. etc. Those degrees, I believe, can be safe for some years to come, but again, who knows. But at the same time, most of the people do not want to go in such advanced fields where they have to spend years to not only finish their degree, but then to get lots of training, certifications, and only after 10 or 20 years at 35 years old becoming a professional in the said field. Again, we do not know what will be happening in 15 years' time and how the surgeons, which are just now becoming their career path, will be doing. But that's another topic. Let's talk about most of the people who are going to the university just to receive their degree in some ordinary things, such as in IT, business management, accounting, etc., right? What should you expect from your degree? Because I am the same. I have a degree in law, right? And I am not any sort of very specialized lawyer. I just have a degree in law. And what can I say? I can say that the degree nowadays should be treated just as an education, not an investment in your future profession. What I'm saying is that in the university you will be learning lots of great things. You will be learning how to analyze information, you will be learning how to do things, how to fact check things, how to write in a good way. Of course, with AI it's also becoming a useless skill because AI can write, but still, if you will just learn to write a bit, this will definitely develop your brain in one way or another. So you will learn how to communicate with people, you will learn a bit of history, a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of insights about the profession, and all of that is absolutely awesome, I think. All of that is just great. But what you do not have to expect from the university is the university and the degree that you receive becoming an investment in your future career, because you do not know how the career will look like. You have to treat it as an education which you can somehow turn into some sort of a career in the future, because you will have to set yourself for a specific career that you will be able to secure yourself. You most probably will be able to find some sort of a job somewhere in the office, right? Because we are talking about this type of degrees right now, because most of the degrees actually lead to the office job, let's be honest, right? And so you just have to treat it as the thing where you learn general knowledge, general stuff, general information, which will be very useful, but the specifics you will learn at the job, you will learn at the desk. And it actually was happening for decades before that, but not to the extent as it's happening today, right? Because you can begin your career as an accountant and then turn into data analyst because you have learned on your own some sort of data analytics with AI. That's the things which are happening nowadays, right? Or you are becoming a dual guy, you are doing both accounting and data analytics, etc., etc. So the world is becoming crazy, the world is becoming less and less stable, but you can, I think, swim in these waters, right? Everyone can swim in these waters if they know what to expect. If they know what to expect and know how not to be actually worried about your degree not securing you a job. Because I know lots of people who have finished university and then they are just sitting there. They cannot get a job that they kind of studied for, right? And then they become all sad and write on X that damn, my degree is useless. Of course it's useless because you are not agile enough, and nowadays you, fortunately or unfortunately, you have to bend, you have to do something. You have to think about ways of how to get any sort of job. That's my idea here. And at the same time, universities will be trying to push you into buying the most expensive degree. They will be, and they are already creating degrees that are kinda strange, such as prompt engineer. I legit have seen a university degree being available to enroll into for 4 or 5 years to get a bachelor's degree or something like that. Okay, or maybe master's, it doesn't matter. So you can enroll for lots of years to study prompt engineering. You study for years to become a prompt engineer, to become a guy who knows how to type stuff on ChatGPT, and they're of course asking for lots of money, because everyone will need prompt engineers. Not like everyone is prompt engineer already, right? And not like you can learn it in a few weeks or a month max, right? To learn the basics and then do it on your own. No, they're trying to sell you a degree. They are trying to sell you a degree that will take you 4 years of your time sitting in classrooms and learning prompt engineering, and then in 4 years time you will leave the university and the employers will say, you know how to type stuff in ChatGPT, everyone knows it. You don't have any specialized knowledge, you don't know the accounting, the IT, the business, the logistics, whatever. You don't know that. You just know how to type stuff in the ChatGPT. But university will already make theirs money, right? And they do not care. They don't care about you actually getting a job. They do not care about that. They just care about selling you the idea that they are giving you something innovative, right? And then you will be a great professional with a huge salary. But that's just not how it works, unfortunately, in most of the cases. And I am not saying all of the universities are bad and they are trying to sell you some useless stuff. No, that's a free market. They are trying to sell you something. Every university is trying to sell you some sort of degrees. The universities have been providing you with art degrees for decades, degrees which for most of the people end up in no job opportunities, right? But yeah, so people still do it and have been doing it. So you don't need to blame universities, you need to blame people who are choosing these degrees and then somehow blame the universities and the world that they didn't get a high-paying job, right? That's who you should blame. But the real risk here is not getting a degree and then not being able to find a job. That of course is a problem, but the actual and real problem is paying lots of money that you do not have for a degree that is not leading to any sort of job and ending up in a huge debt. I believe that it's not as big of a problem in Europe. In most of the universities in Europe, degrees are not costing as much. But in the US, in most of the cases, you have to go into the debt to fund your degree. And that's the problem. If you graduate university with a huge debt behind your shoulders, without an opportunity to get a normal job, and then this debt is compounding, and as far as I know, even the bankruptcy is not gonna save you from this debt. And that's a scary situation to be in, that's a scary situation to find yourself in. And if you are in such a situation, I'm sorry for you. I believe that there is a way to kinda get out of it, to get any sort of job and start paying it out, but I believe that the best thing to do is not to end up in such a situation. And that's why I believe that the debt matters more than your degree. I believe that it's better to go to the cheapest university you can find on your own without taking a debt than going into a huge debt to go into the great university. I believe that it's better to become a blue-collar worker than going into the debt for a degree that you know cannot guarantee you an outcome. Of course, if you are good enough to get into the top schools for the top positions, right, for the top professions such as medicine, etc., of course those are different situations. But now I am talking about most of the people, about most of the lives that can be ruined nowadays. I believe, and how I see it, is that people are gonna get into the huge debt, and then AI is gonna disrupt the job market to the extent that nobody knows what degree actually matters, and everyone is so agile that everyone can do everything. It's to some extent, of course, probably very bad extent, but still do it to the extent that employers are satisfied in one way or another, right? And then it's gonna be a disaster. That's why I believe that you should be choosing your degree in the university for the knowledge that you will be getting there, not for the future path that they're trying to sell you, right? Just find out what kind of a degree can give you knowledge that will matter no matter what, right? Let's say the knowledge of taxation will help you in your situation no matter whether you will be working in tax field, whether you will be a tax professional or not, you will know how taxes function, and this will help you in pretty much any career path if you will be working in the office or just on your own. The same goes for the basic understanding of business processes, basic understanding of accounting, basic understanding of legal reasoning, the legal problems, the legal system. The same goes for the IT, if you know how to do stuff with computers, especially the hardware. I think is becoming more rare nowadays as far as I saw. So there are lots of things which can be very valuable for you. And then you can maybe, if you will get lucky, turn them into career, but that's not guaranteed. But if you will go to the university for the knowledge, not for the career, for the specific career, I mean, right, because we all get the knowledge to get some sort of a job, then you will not be as discouraged after it if you will not be able to find a job in the specific field that you have been studying for, right? And that's my reasoning here. That's my reasoning to not becoming a very depressed person in debt. Is actually trying your best to go to the university for knowledge, and then to think about what to do with your knowledge further and how to turn it into money. So yeah, those are my thoughts on this topic, because AI is actually disrupting our lives, and I think that's just an inevitable thing. It has been happening with the internet, it has been happening with heavy machinery decades ago, etc, etc. You know, lives are changing by the technology, with the help of technology, and that's just normal. That's just normal. The AI stuff is looking kinda more creepy because it can do kinda everything, but I believe it's not as bad, and people will still be able to make money, to be professionals, but as I said, it will look different. It will look different most probably, and that's all fine, because the world is moving, we are moving, and probably the saddest things for Zoomers and people of our age, like 20-30 years old people, is that we are here at the beginning of our careers and this disruption is happening. I believe that it could be easier for the people who are already established in their career, they're like 40 plus and they know what they're doing for at least like 20 years, or easier for the people who will be just joining the university in the next 10 years time, because the picture is gonna maybe stabilize a bit, or maybe not. These all are just speculations, because, you know, nobody knows how the world will look like. And that's the fun part also about it, which we have to enjoy in one way or another, or at least try our best to enjoy, right? And if you listen to this point in this video, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate you listening to all of my things, and of course let me know in the comments if you do agree with me or disagree with me. Maybe you have your opinion on this topic, maybe you know something that I didn't mention here. Please let me know, let's discuss things. You can do it in the comments, or you can also join my Discord server, link is down below, where I also will be more than happy to discuss any video of mine with you. So thank you once again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.